Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Mystery Theory. Today I am going to talk about the son of Sam. He was a very well-known character in the summer of 1977 in New York. And this was a serial killer that it was kind of resourceful, but still was daunting the authorities in a way that not all serial killers care to do. Now, again, this was in the summer of 1977, and this serial killer was on the loose, terrorizing New York City for over a year. He had gunned down his two most recent victims on July 31st as they were sitting in a car in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. In this last incident, he killed Stacy Brooklyn and partially blinded her date, Robert, by, he basically shot him in the eye. He murdered in total 6 and wounded 7. But these were his last 2 victims, or the most recent ones. The newspapers were going crazy. The New York Post, the headline screamed, "No one is safe from the son of Sam." Now, let's go back a little bit, okay? Because this started in 1976, precisely in the month of July, when somebody decided to open fire to a couple of ladies who happened to be sitting and chatting in their car. In this attack, he killed one and injured the other one. Now, almost immediately, another almost identical attack, and then another. The target seemed to be ladies with long hair, and people they were panicking. They knew kind of the MO of this killer. He wanted ladies with long dark hair, people sitting in cars, and he was willing to kill. So a lot of them, ladies I should say, decided to dye their hair blonde. Couples avoided going out or sitting in cars. They were so scared. No one felt safe, and the city felt like they were left to their luck. It seemed like the police couldn't do anything to help them. But police deployed 300 officers, including 50 detectives, to try to find this guy and protect the public. They were overwhelmed. They had reports every single day of anxious citizens who thought that maybe his angry coworker or mean neighbor was the murderer. This made it so much harder to find and use the resources on the real killer. They were wasting time, spent hours to review sketches that were really so different from the one before that he was creating a new face and not the face of the killer. This sketch almost felt like a ghost because it was composed of different sketches, and by now people had no idea what the killer looked like. So the killer felt safe and decided to start sending letters to the police, taunting them. If that was not enough, he also contacted the New York Daily News columnist Jimmy Breslin. He told him that his dad's name was Sam, and that his dad was asking him to do this, to commit these crimes. At this point, the experts were not able to come up with a profile for the son of Sam. Some people believe one thing, some others experts believe another. For instance, some of them said that he was neurotic, schizophrenic, and paranoid, that had trouble forming relationship with women. Other experts, I should say, describe the guy as a very polite, extremely intelligent, and probably college-educated, Catholic, white-collar worker. There was a big difference between one description and the other. There was not a clear face of who really this guy was, or at least what he looked like. But eventually the big break in the case came when a lady was walking her dog near where the last victims were attacked. This almost reminds me of the case of can't remember her name right now, but the one with the submarine. Remember that the guy walking the dog found, I think it was a leg or something. I don't know why that case came to my mind. If you haven't watched it, I'm gonna link it down below. This lady walking the dog, she reported seeing a suspicious man. She also said that a police officer that day at that time was issuing parking tickets in that area. So Detective James Justice decided to contact every single ticket that was issued in the area. And of course, in the hopes of finding more witnesses. Well, there was one in particular, a $35 ticket, a parking ticket, because of being too close to a fire hydrant. $35, it's a pretty expensive ticket. Apparently, New York, it's, I think I got one years ago for $7. But that doesn't matter, it has nothing to do with the money, I should say. Now, this guy's name was David Berkowitz, and he happened to have a creamed, like, it was described in different ways. I'm gonna say like a beigey colored Ford Galaxy, and they had his address, and he lived in Yonkers. They tried to contact him, but he wouldn't answer or call back. And to be honest, I don't know how they were contacting him, if he had an old number, because it seemed like the guy didn't know that police were looking for him. So the police investigators decided to call Yonkers police. his dad's home or something like that. Now, that was kind of a sign. So on August 10th, detectives went to Yonkers to find him. They found the car and peeked inside. Now, not so good news for David, as they saw a duffel bag inside the car with a rifle, and the tip was sticking out of the duffel bag. Then, in the glove compartment, I'm assuming that the car was open, they found a letter threatening to open fire in a glove. That was it. They thought, we got him. So, when David came out of the building, Detective John Falco raised his gun to David's temple, and David said, quote, "You got me. I'm the son of Sam." The next day, the newspapers and overall the news spreaded the word that he was caught, and that they also attached a picture, and the public could not believe what he looked like. He was a completely different person compared to the sketches and even the description of the experts. David was a 24-year-old man with bushy hair and long sideburns. According to what they thought they were looking for, I mean, really, it was kind of the opposite. I mean, they thought they were looking for an athletic build, college graduate, white-collar job. Description of his face, sketch, nothing matched. But he did confess and was sentenced to 6 life sentences. Now I have to say that I didn't know much about this case. And the part where I started to read about how he was taunting the police with letters and contacting the news outlets, I mean, it kind of reminded me of the Zodiac, that I have a 5-part series. If you want to check it out, you can find it on the channel, and if I remember, I'll put it on the cards or down below in the description box. But you have to believe that is fate, you know. This lady happened to be walking by the area where the last 2 victims were attacked. Not only that, but she happened to look at this guy who seemed kind of suspicious. How do you judge somebody that looks suspicious? Well, maybe if you catch him doing something suspicious, like trying to open a car that he doesn't have a key to, or, you know, calling a kid that is looking at him like, "Do I know you?" Or, you know, maybe that, but just somebody to go on a hunch and say, "Hey, he looks suspicious." It really is, it's a bold statement, and it's almost like it was meant to be that way. Where I live, and I think overall in the state of Utah, we are experiencing a lot of people living on the streets. There's a big homeless population pretty much everywhere. You would think that because of the winter, people would really couldn't really stay here, but the state they implemented different, and they built different shelters. And again, as I mentioned before, sometimes you hear about these cases of homeless stuck to the floor or frozen to the floor, but it's just one of those things that it's hard. It's hard to judge somebody because of the way they look. I know where I am living, there is a public restroom that happens to have a shower inside, and I've noticed some homeless people wandering around that bathroom when I go out for my afternoon walk. Now, some people get creeped out because they're homeless and they're dirty or whatever, but it's, for me, it's very hard to, and I do pay attention, because if a neighbor complains or something, or at least if I can help, I would. But to me, it's like, he thought he was smarter in this case, David, and because of a lady who just got freaked out by his looks, he ended up in jail. And my point with my story is, not everyone is gonna judge people for the way they look, but because of what they're doing. If I saw that same homeless guy that say hi to me when I walk by, and he's trying to break a window, then the guy is suspicious and looks suspicious, and I'm gonna report it. But if the guy is laying in the sun in a public lawn, not really something like, how do you judge somebody who looks suspicious by just the looks? To me, really, it's almost like it was meant to be that way. And because of her being brave enough to say something, and because of her gut that was telling her, hey, this might be the guy, after all the contradictions and after all the reports from the different people who thought that they knew, the police taking the time to investigate this tip really helped them crack this case. So, good for them. And I'm glad that, because of somebody who was paying attention, who was looking to the, looking up. I feel like right now with our phones and technology, we're always looking down and ignoring what's around us. But back then, I'm glad that she was paying attention, and because of her, if she wouldn't mention this, he was probably never going to get caught. So that is it for today's case. Thank you so much for being here, guys. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And please, if you're part of the Patreon family, check out tomorrow's exclusive video. See you guys